You're listening to the VA Claims Authority. I'm Gary, Air Force veteran, VA disability claims strategist, and the guy who got denied, fought back, and won. I'm here to make sure the VA doesn't leave you behind. Whether you're filing your first claim or fighting your fifth appeal, this is your briefing. Let's get into it. Hook. Here's a truth most vets don't realize. Sometimes the VA will accept your claim without you having to prove a medical link if you can prove you were in the right place at the right time. That's what presumptive service connection buys you. It removes the toughest hurdle, the nexus, and gets you to benefits faster. Promise. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to make this simple. You'll get a plain definition of what a presumption is, the common categories you need to know, like Agent Orange, Gulf War exposures, and burn pits, the exact service details the VA wants to see, the records that seal the deal, which forms to file, and one specific action you can do right now to start your claim. Section 1, the briefing, what a presumptive service connection actually means. Legally, a presumption is a rule the VA uses. If you meet the conditions listed in that rule, usually a combination of where you served, when you served, and the condition you have, the VA will presume your condition is related to service. In practical terms, that means you don't need a doctor to draw the line from your time in uniform to your diagnosis. The VA accepts the link because Congress or VA regulations already recognize the exposure or pattern. Common categories you'll run into are Agent Orange and other herbicide exposures tied to Vietnam-era service, Gulf War and post-9/11 in-theater exposures that lead to undiagnosed illnesses, toxic exposure presumptions now covered under the PACT Act like certain burn pit risks, and a smaller set of chronic diseases that the VA treats as connected when they began in service. Think specific rheumatologic or neurologic conditions with an in-service onset. Those categories matter because they change what evidence you must submit. Section 2. Who qualifies? The service location and service date rules. This is where most claims succeed or fail. For Agent Orange-related presumptions, the VA looks at service in Vietnam or service aboard certain ships or in inland waterways during the Vietnam era. So it's not only boots on the ground. Shipboard service in specified waters can qualify. For Gulf War and post-9/11 toxic exposure presumptions, the VA uses deployment dates and theater of operations designations. If you deployed to OEF, OIF, or served in qualifying areas during set dates, that can trigger a presumption. Burn pits and other airborne hazards under the PACT Act depend on documented service in OEF or IF/OEF adjacent locations or other specific bases where burn pits were used. Here's a practical rule. The VA wants unit names, duty locations, and specific dates. NOS or job titles can help when exposure wasn't everywhere on a base. If you were an aircraft mechanic working near burn pits, that MOS detail strengthens your case. If your service is on a ship, the ship's name and dates underway or in port matter. If you served in the waters off Vietnam, list the vessel and the dates in theater. When in doubt, gather a simple timeline, unit, location, start, and end dates. That timeline is your foundation. Section 3, evidence that seals it, what to pull and why. First, DD 214, always. It proves service and dates. Second, personnel records and deployment orders. These show assignment to a unit or deployment to a theater. Third, unit rosters, morning reports, or line items in unit histories. These are especially useful if your DD 214 uses only a unit number or vague location language. Fourth, buddy statements or statements in support of claim. VA Form 21-4138 from people who can say you were on that base, ship, or operating near a burn pit. Fifth, medical evidence to prove the condition is diagnosed. Even with a presumption, the VA needs a current diagnosis that matches a listed presumptive condition. A critical advantage. You generally do not need a nexus letter connecting the condition to service when a presumption applies. The presumption itself provides that nexus. That said, don't skip medical records. The VA must confirm you actually have the condition it presumes. If the presumption requires additional criteria, some do, check those specifics on the VA's presumptive list and document everything. Even short, clear statements like, I serve with 2nd Brigade, 1st INF FOB Falcon from 3/2003 to 10/2004 are powerful when backed by a DD 214 or orders. Process and paperwork, the exact forms and how to assemble them. Use VA Form 21-526EZ for initial disability claims. That's the simplest route. On the form, list the condition and, in the sections that ask for service information and details, put your unit names, locations, and dates exactly as they appear on your records. Attach a copy of your DD 214 and any deployment orders or personnel pages that show assignment. Include a one-page service summary, a short factual paragraph that says, I served with dates, location, exposure claim. For example, I served at Al-Assad Air Base, Iraq from May 2004 to February 2005 and worked within 500 yards of the base burn pit. Attach buddy statements on VA Form 21-4138 or as sworn statements and attach your current medical records that show the diagnosis. If you have a separation or personnel file, like an NCOER or discharge paperwork, that lists the unit and dates, attach that too. Keep attachments concise and labeled. A single page titled DD 214 is easier for a reviewer than a 30-page dump. If you need a supplemental statement, file it as an additional 21-4138 and reference your claim number or the date you submitted the 526EZ. Action step. What to do right now. Don't leave this for later. Go to va.gov or scan the VA Form 21-526EZ now. Download it. Open the service information section and fill in every unit name, duty location, and date you remember that could match a presumptive exposure. If you have your DD 214 handy, attach a copy. If not, request a copy from the National Archives today. It's free and the request is straightforward. If you can, write one short sentence that directly ties you to the exposure, where you were and why that exposure was present. Save those files and submit them with the 21-526EZ. That single action starts a presumptive claim and gets the VA reviewing service and exposure fast. Quick recap and common pitfalls. Recap. Presumptions remove the nexus requirement if you meet the location/date and condition criteria. Pitfalls. Filing a generic claim without listing unit names or dates, sending medical records but not the service proof, and assuming an MOS alone proves exposure. Always attach DD 214, list exact dates and units, and include a short service summary. If you're unsure whether your service area qualifies for a specific presumption, verify the exact rule on va.gov or use the one-page presumptive checklist on backclaimsauthority.com before you submit. That checklist is built to help you match your service to the VA's language, and it saves headaches down the road. That's your briefing. Now go execute. If this episode helped you, share it with a veteran who needs to hear it. And if you need help with your claim, whether it's an audit, a rebuttal, or a full strategy session, head to backclaimsauthority.com. I've got the tools and the experience to help you win. I'll see you next episode. And remember, your service earned this. Don't let paperwork take it from you. The VA won't tell you this. I will